What's up to our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, aka spoiler alert, episode 767. This is the show where we review the past week's comics as well as talk about some fun pop culture topics for your listening and viewing pleasure. Mostly viewing. You're welcome. I am your host, Johnny Destructo of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street in Philadelphia, PA, a super rad shop which caters to nerdy and nerd-adjacent individuals of all shapes and sizes, except jerks. Like Adam, the guy who used to pick on me in middle school. No. Don't even try it. Joining me tonight are Brian Lieb and Noel Bartocci. Sup, fellas? Don't answer that question because I have another follow-up question. It's taking a train to Speculation Town with the release of this week's Inferno number 4, the X-Men related title by Hickman. He's leaving the X-Men, right? For the foreseeable future. He has stated that he is moving on to a different Marvel property. What character or team would you like to see him tackle next? Or which would you want him to stay away from? Brian, you have the floor.
I was thinking something cosmic, right? Hickman does big cosmic-y things really well. And the first name that popped into my head was Captain Universe. I think Hickman would do a cool Captain Universe thing. You know, somehow connecting all these different things that the Enigma Force inhabits for some reason, you know, over the course of whatever amount, 48 books or whatever, you know. Yeah, so I don't know if I thought about it, if something else would come to mind, but yeah, like the Inhumans. I'm sure he would do a cool Inhumans run. But yeah, Captain Universe. I bet he'd do something cool with. Oh, Inhumans would be pretty sweet.
He did.
Too.
Well, he played with the Inhumans a bunch during his Avengers run.
Did he?
Yeah. Infinity. The whole Infinity crossover was that big Inhumans continuity shift with Atalan blowing up and the Terrigen mists everywhere and stuff.
Oh, was that him? He did that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, his Avengers run, I dropped off of. I was liking it a lot because it kind of started in Fantastic Four, which is one of my favorite Fantastic Four runs. And I think he got switched without wanting to be switched. I don't know. But I dropped off of it around when the Earths were colliding together. And so if it was after that, I must have missed it.
Oh, no, it was in the middle of that. So like the Avengers run started with the incursion points, the Earths colliding. But during the course of that was all of the Infinity stuff that resulted in the Inhumans blowing up their floating city.
Kind of familiar. Is that when they became
it went back into JD's,
okay.
I think JD's bored now. Yeah. So you say cosmic.
Yeah.
I do not disagree with that. I don't know if I would go with like what is it? Universe? Captain Universe.
The Enigma Force. They could call it Enigma.
They used to
What about Quasar?
Ooh, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say just straight up Guardians of the Galaxy potentially. Because that book has ended. So I keep thinking of books that are about to get refreshed or end. And the two that came to mind were Captain America has no ongoing right now at all. It's just miniseries, and Ta-Nehisi Coates just left. And Guardians of the Galaxy just ended like an 18-issue run and ended. So those are two big properties with all kinds of like multimedia play that are popular that I think he could go to town on. What do you about, JG?
Spider-Man.
There you go. That would be cool.
What's the answer to every question?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
The reason I say that is because the Beyond segment of Amazing Spider-Man, after Nick Spencer left, they did this Beyond experiment, and apparently that's coming to a close already, and they haven't announced the next writer for that. So it might be Spider-Man. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Uh,
JD, you mentioned Quasar, though. I think
Yeah.
that would be the whole like protector of the universe thing. I think that would be something that Hickman would do.
Wait, what do you?
very well.
Does anybody like not want Hickman to touch anything or something?
Oh,
Like,
right. I forgot
Oh,
that
right.
was part of it.
mm,
I mean, I think he has a wide breadth of storytelling style. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's anything
acumen. Yeah.
he probably wouldn't be good at. So it'd have to be like, what character? I don't want him to do the Punisher because I don't like the Punisher. You
I
know?
don't.
Like,
I don't want Hickman to do Ghost Rider.
all right.
I don't want him on Daredevil either.
Why is that?
I think we've talked about this before. Sometimes his approach is very calculated and or antiseptic, if not the story itself, the approach to the story, like infographics and flowcharts, and very methodical. And to me, the core of Daredevil is the extreme moral ambiguity. And I don't, but like from an emotional aspect, like the emotional tolls of moral ambiguity and faith and religion. And I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but I would not look to him as a writer to do that for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Still not done the intro.
There's more.
Thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you for everyone joining us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you like what we're doing, be sure to comment, subscribe, like, share, and then pop up in the chat because we'll bring you in on the show. You can chat with us. We do have an email. I'm going to read it. It's from Christopher Goodnight. It's called My Chicago Saga, Daniel Warren Johnson, A Journey of Wheels. You may remember my mentioning a Killers concert I was planning to attend in September that got canceled. On the one hand, I was really disappointed because I was looking forward to it. I had a bunch of their earlier albums that I had never listened to and was listening to all Killers all the time at work. At WKILLR. I had listened to their album Hot Fuzz when it came out, but was mistakenly thinking that had stuff from before it and that it was their first mainstream album. Nope, it was their debut. On the other hand, I was glad because the concert was in Virginia, which is for lovers. A 10-hour drive. I would make solo, and my car had a shutter if I went over 60. I assumed it was an alignment issue that I was going to have that in the new year, but I just hadn't splurged for it yet. Turns out, no, both of my two front tires had worn down so much the wire was exposed on them. One of them blew on the way to Chicago, and if I hadn't called roadside assistance instead of changing it myself and trying to drive to the nearest Walmart to get a new tire, I never would have known the second one was bad as well. Thankfully, he noticed, and I was able to go to his company's garage, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, they took some time. It was about an hour waiting, another hour to change the tires. I seriously considered canceling the trip and coming home. I didn't, though, and made the rest of the trip and got there before 2, which is when I thought Daniel Warren Johnson was leaving, but the guy at the counter informed me the signing was supposed to start at 1, 3 exclamation points, 1:30, 3 exclamation points. No, question marks. Regardless, he was still there, and I was able to get my issues of Extremity signed, my issues of Murder Falcon signed, my issues of Wonder Woman Dead Earth signed, and my issues of Beta Ray Bill signed. Plus, I was able to talk to him while he signed them. He's got a new miniseries coming out in June. He had to fight the Beta Ray Bill. He had to fight to get the Beta Ray Bill book for 2 years, and they only gave it to him if it was loosely tied into King in Black. Basically, he just had to mention it in the first issue, and then he could do what he wanted with it. I'm hoping he does another signing in June when the Murder Falcon hardcover comes out, which I've ordered for myself, and a couple extras. I assume Noel would want one.
Yes.
I didn't care for the wrap-up of Batman Imposter, A Vengeful Cop. That was the best it could come up with.
Hey, spoilers.
Yeah. It had some interesting elements for sure, but as a whole, the story just didn't do it for me. I am enjoying Robin's and Batman. Tapping out on the Flash and Wonder Woman. Same with New Mutants, Marauders, and we only find them when they're dead. And as soon as I read that final issue of Oblivion song, that series, along with the rest, is going to my local half-priced books. I can't wait to see Gangsta Grass at the Hi-Fi in Fountain Square in March, shortly before my 42nd birthday, which I have booked an appointment to get my first tattoo.
Yep.
P.S. If you backed Sean Murphy's plot holes, check out my name in the thank you pages. Chris St. Saucy Goodnight. We did actually back his whatcha-dilly, and we're going to be talking about. There it is, plot holes. We're going to be talking about the first issue tonight.
Oh, we are.
Well, not you.
I might talk about something. You can say something, and I'll talk about it.
All right.
Wait, what's Daniel Warren Johnson's next thing that's coming?
Yeah, I was hoping there was going to be a title, but I guess he didn't actually say what his new mini is coming. Like, is it creator owned? Is it Image? Is it?
His
DC,
parentheses
Marvel?
is, if you follow him on Instagram or Twitter, you can guess what it's going to be about.
I don't.
I do, but I don't know. Like, he he was doing a lot of wrestling pictures, but that was for November. I'll look it up.
All right.
I'm looking for Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight, though. Yeah.
Before we move on to the comics, though, Robert Monroe Jr. is in the comments saying, "Good evening, Cult Poppers. Have you watched Slugfest DC vs. Marvel on the Roku channel? It's a 10-part series of episodes, no more than 10 minutes each, and pretty interesting." No.
I have not, although I've been hearing about it here and there. But I don't have a Roku, so I don't know if you can watch the Roku channel
sans Roku
otherwise.
Yeah.
Right.
The only things I know about it thus far is it's on Roku. I read a very, very quick article about the wild inaccuracy of it, but it's still entertaining, and Ray Wise as Steve Ditko is great casting. So, like, watching it to learn anything, probably not. But I heard it was fun. Yeah.
Who's Ray Wise? I know that name.
He's
in everything.
been in movies and yeah. He's what was I saw
Is he the guy with the real straight hair?
Yeah.
Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight. It's right there.
Nice.
Sweet.
Wait a minute, I backed it. Is my name in there too?
Did you put?
Is Johnny Destructo in there?
Is that what you put?
Here, let's just waste time while you silently search for my name in the back of the book.
Sure. Keep talking, guys.
So yeah, I'm sorry, Robert Monroe. I'm sorry. I haven't seen it. I hope you're enjoying it though.
I'll tell you, that happened to me with the thing that St. Saucy mentions about the tires once. Not so bad. Oh, there it is. Johnny
Destructo. Hey. You're welcome, Sean.
I mean, I backed it through you. I don't see my fucking name in this book. Whatever.
Robin Monroe continues, "I think you can watch the Roku channel without having a Roku TV. Some stuff was inaccurate, but it did have some interesting info I didn't know." Cool. However, if you know, okay, here's the thing. If you know that some of the stuff was inaccurate, how do you know that the stuff you didn't know wasn't also inaccurate and you still don't know?
It's true.
It could be the greatest show in the world, but I'm holding all recommendations on anything to watch for television until I finish Succession, because clearly nothing is worth my time before that finishes.
It's true. I'm so glad you're finally on the Succession train, Noel.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of season 3. I'll open submissions to suggestions post haste after finishing.
So good. All right, let's talk about some goddamn comic books, because that's what we're here to do. Detective Comics number 1047 from DC Comics. Written by Mariko Tamaki and Matt Rosenberg, with art by Ivan Reis and Fernando Blanco. The Tower begins. The 12-part weekly Detective Comics event starts here. Arkham Asylum has fallen, and in its place, Arkham Tower has risen in the heart of the city. A pitch made by the mysterious Dr. Ware. Unlike the asylum, Dr. Ware promises his methods and drug treatments will heal Gotham's criminally inclined for good. A claim that skeptics like Deb Donovan and the Bat family don't believe. there's something wrong with the tower and Dr. Ware's methods. And with Batman away from Gotham City, the rest of the Bat family is going to find out what, but not before everything explodes.
Oh.
So I have not been able to keep up. I am a big Mariko Tamaki fan. I think she's fantastic. And I've read a lot of her indie stuff. And also Dan Mora was drawing this book. So I was really excited for Mariko Tamaki and Dan Mora, and I just could not find the time. And I'm finally able to jump onto this issue, and boy howdy am I glad I did, because this issue was a rollicking good time. This was just bonkers fun. I really enjoyed it. I like how it sort of turned the story on its ear, or at least the presentation of a well-worn Batman story on its ear, where someone new takes over something Arkham related and they promise that things are going to be different. And we all know how that's going to end. So this book's like, we all know how this is going to end. Let's just jump 20 something days and show you the absolute, I'm trying not to curse, poop show that this is going to wind up. And so we do some time jumps. And
is that better
I thought
than
that was
shit?
Poop.
Is that better?
Poop's better than shit.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Brian Anderson's talking about how he can't watch with his kids because we curse.
I got you.
You should have reminded me because I dropped the F-bomb like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, no.
What bomb was that?
Oh, the fuck bomb. It was a fudge bomb. It happens in Kai's diaper all the time.
But yeah. You know what? I even have I can bring it up. I can show you guys what it looks like. Here we go. Give me just a second.
Comic book.
This is Kai's diaper? Was there?
Yeah,
I can show you
a gift of your
share screen.
I don't know if I want to.
What did you guys think? No, what did you think of this?
I thought this was like solid. Was it like backflip worthy? No. But in a sea of Batman books, as far as I could throw, is solid. It's a really good jumping on point too. So I think I've not been able to keep up with all the Batman books. We read Batman 118 and then 119 has come out since, but that takes Bruce to Europe. And this seems to be the interim. So it's essentially, this is the beginning of a whole Bat family story, which I like.
Shadows of the Bat.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Which would it be Shadows of the Bat, or they're all under one shadow of?
I think it's Shadow of the Bats.
Is it really?
No. I'm wrong. It's Shadows of the Bat, indeed. Well,
they're
all
because
casting
they are
their
his
own
shadows.
shadow.
They are all shadows of one bat.
Oh, interesting.
All right.
Anyway, what'd you think of it?
It was strong. It was really strong. This is like a 12-week event. This is coming out. I believe this is going to be coming out weekly, over the next up until the end of March. I feel a certain way about stuff like this, the weekly events, right? Because sometimes they are super strong all the way through, and then sometimes they almost like create drag in the middle. You know, like you want to hit a number, but maybe it's a 6-issue story that they stretch out to 12, or maybe it's a 2-year arc that they compacted into 12 because it's, they only have so much time before the new creative team comes in. So like sometimes these don't work. I keep thinking of Avengers No Surrender, was it? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was good.
The first one was terrible. The second one was good. So like, I forget there was one that was like 20 issues long weekly and it just was awful. But then like No Surrender was the follow-up and it was like strong and solid and short. So I'm hoping this is closer to that. And then we like kind of discover that this is an awesome, you could read it at any time, Batman book. I wonder the other artists that are on this book, because I don't know if Ivan Reis is a weekly drawer or how much lead-in time they had. So I think this might be a maker, or also too, I don't know if Mariko Tamaki's writing the whole thing.
I can tell you I have this upcoming week's issue in my hand. And so far, Tamaki and Reese are on the book.
Yeah.
So at
because
least the first 2 issues.
I think this is going to be a make or break as to which fill-in artists they're going to get or what the whole creative team is going to be. Because if we're going to be like jamming with Tamaki and Reese, and it's just really strong, but then there's a, toss a Liam Sharp in there, it might really affect the momentum of the book. So I liked it, but I'm in a wait and see mode with this title, if that makes sense. Yeah. But
I'm already in. I'm excited. I can't wait to read the next issue. Like I'm in. Brian, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Also Robert Monroe Jr. doing due diligence in answer to your question, how do you know it's right? He says, because I looked it up, JD. Excellent.
JD.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he didn't type it this way, but the way I'm reading it is, because I looked it up, JD.
Wait, so you looked up all information to discover if it's correct or incorrect.
Right. It taught him some things he didn't know, and then he was like, oh, that's neat, and then made sure it was true.
But what's the baseline of factual to look up what is potentially not factual? Did you walk in knowing nothing?
Don't listen to him, Robert. He's just being...
What's the normal world of your knowledge level in regards to Slugfest to know what to look up and what to let slide?
I'm assuming it was just anything he didn't already know.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that's a neat fact. Let me Google that.
Since other stuff was wrong, I gotta check this out.
What if you didn't know the correct version of truth?
So, Brian, what did you think of the book?
Always a concern. So I liked it. Yeah, it was a solid Batman family book. I think it's cool that Batman is not. I don't think he's going to be a part of it at all. Is my feeling.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Good.
Which is not something that I really remember them having done at a time when Batman was around, Like, always when there are the Bat family with no Batman, it's because Batman is presumed to be dead or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like, he's, like, off the board. And that is not the case in this. He's just doing something else, which I thought was cool. The woman's name that is introduced is Chase Meridian. I think she's a bank. This lady. That's my understanding. And like so much so that I looked it up and I'm like, there's a Chase Bank. Did they merge with Meridian Bank? There is also a Meridian Bank. Yeah. They are not merged. But,
Dr. Chase Meridian is Nicole Kidman's character in Batman Forever.
I didn't know that. When I looked it up, apparently she's like a long-running character. Yeah. But does she not sound like a bank?
Yes.
It sounds like a bank.
Absolutely.
To me.
Yeah.
So
she sounds like a shitty album title in the 1980s, like Duran Duran, Chase Meridian.
Like we're in pursuit of the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, JD, jumping right to it, I thought they jumped especially right to it when that guy gets thrown out of Arkham Tower. Like, that just cuts right to it, doesn't it? Although, who knows, maybe he is secretly in charge of everything and he just seems to be dead. But, yeah.
We don't see his face.
That's true. So, yeah, and she's a cool-looking, presumably the main villain, but who knows? This, the woman, I think, a couple of pages prior to that, who is in Arkham and has a bunch of cuts on her arms, which I didn't notice before. She could be like a Zaz kind of character. I'm not sure if we've seen her before.
Anna.
I didn't know about this other character that I guess is in
Nero 14.
Yeah,
me either. But they said something that it seemed like he was pretty recent. He's a pretty recent character.
Yeah, it seems so. Tynion was on the Batman book for what feels like maybe a year, but it's like 40 issues.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been people that have come and gone and been introduced and been around for a while that I've never read, like the Peacekeeper business, this new mayor, like I don't necessarily recognize the Bat books right now, and I'm kind of okay with it. This one at least feels like it sets up the ordinary world very quickly for me. Like, cool, Arkham Tower instead of Arkham Asylum. Got it. Go. Like, this is manageable, right?
Yeah.
But when they did reference some characters, I didn't know if I would like Dr. Ware. I don't know if he's been around for a year or two. Or if he's
No
right
idea.
now. And but the cool thing is like it doesn't really matter. Same with the purple hair with the tattoo with the scars.
Anna.
Like maybe she's somebody, but
Yeah.
it's cool. Like as
I
far
kind of
as
got the sense that
story
she's
goes right
not.
now.
But
That'd be cool
who
too.
knows?
Yeah.
Also, what is the what's the big idea of putting Arkham, the new version of Arkham, in a tower in the middle of the city? Like,
Right.
why would you do that?
It's a dumb fucking idea.
Right.
That's the suspension of disbelief in this story.
Yeah.
Not what characters can or can't do. It's what?
Like, why would you act
Architecturally,
this
is that
way?
sound? Huh?
Right. Like, you guys have been around Arkham for a while now. What were you thinking?
There's real selective memories in Gotham, you know?
Yeah. Maybe this time.
Mhm.
It was. I like how Nightwing. I like his lack of appearance in most of the book, being like this is a cause for concern, but we're not that concerned. But Dick, where are you? You know, that kind of thing. And then he shows up. Anybody read the backup?
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah,
I
it was
paged
strong.
through it.
Yeah, it's good.
It looked cool, and then I didn't read it. I like the art in it, and I never got back to it. So there you go.
Yeah, pretty brutal Joker scene.
Mm.
I was like, oh no, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do to that kid? Oh, never mind, he's fine.
Oh, good.
I did question that actually, like, so if you go 2 pages back, Batman's entrance into the room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's is that snow or glass? It's snow, right?
Snow and glass.
Yeah,
Because
little snow, a little glass.
It's like it looks like he just exploded in, but his body doesn't suggest that. It's just it's interesting. It's an interesting illustration.
Well, I mean, he crashed through it, and then the second it just shows him standing there after having crashed.
Oh, I get it. But my first like pass through of it is explosion, not snow coming through the window.
Oh, I see. No,
Yeah.
it's just snow. Yeah, he's just standing there.
So I was like, okay.
He's like, I've destroyed
okay.
property. Now let me take a rest for a second. Let me take a beat.
Yeah, like
let me enjoy this.
Don't touch. Go.
This Batman art here, on the next page, him standing there is striking.
Yeah, it's good. That's classic Batman.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hal 2814's in the comments saying, after watching last week's show, the CultPop podcast,
this show,
I picked up the first 3 issues of Human Target. OMG, so good.
It is. Yeah.
Nice. Actually, someone else came into the shop this week asking for Human Target because we were talking about it this week or last week. So,
oh, right.
Yeah, very cool. I'm glad people are picking up Human Target because it is.
And also
great.
Listening to and watching this show.
Yeah, and also for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kevin says, Gotham, known for great city planning.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the next book. It's Bylines in Blood, #1 from Aftershock Comics, written by Vant Jensen with art by Erica Scholes. The future. The very concept of truth has died. Politicians invent their own facts, and independent newspapers no longer exist. In this world, private detectives serve as Ronin, searching out the hard truths that people are desperate to keep hidden. The best of these is Satya, known as Lady Dick, a former journalist turned gumshoe who runs every lead to ground. But Satya has just received her hardest case yet. Her old editor has been murdered. Someone wanted him silenced, and the trail points towards the highest bastions of power. It usually does, doesn't it? To find justice, there's it's spelled JUS-TICE for her friend. She'll have to put everything and everyone she knows at risk.
Everything?
Yeah. Her cabinets.
I know how to use the bathroom. That is now at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if she gets killed.
Well, that would be a risk. Yeah. But the cabinets will be fine.
I mean, everything she knows of the cabinets when that.
So they're at risk.
True.
They're at risk. Like, yeah, I mean,
and just her knowledge of it.
The cabinet's agnostic of Katya are fine.
Right.
But her relationship with the cabinets could be irrevocably changed if she gets murdered.
That's
irrevocably.
True. Yeah.
Also, it's Satya, not Katya.
Even
Lady
that is
Dick.
at risk.
Yeah.
Lady Dick. We'll just call her Lady Dick.
Lady Dick.
So yeah, I really like Alias. So
yeah,
here's more of that. It's very much like Alias. She is a private dick. She drinks too much, and she's a real loose cannon.
For those slightly younger than us, he's referring to Jessica Jones.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jessica Jones. Yes.
The original title of the comic was Alias, and then there was an ABC television show for like 7 years.
Do you mean the show, JD,
and they
or the comic?
No,
that was a serious question.
The comic. He means the comic.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones. So yeah, this just feels like, what if Jessica Jones was in the future, which is barely the future? It's just like, no one believes the truth. I'm like, that's just now. That's just here.
Yeah.
But I guess the fact that there's no... Yeah, the fact that, there was a pandemic.
Right.
And that nobody believed the truth anymore. I guess the only difference between the comic and reality is, I guess, there's no newspapers anymore. And so everybody who used to work for newspapers is out of a gig.
This is a darkest timeline that's maybe 5 to 10 years from now. Technology, this is like a future where technology is not much different. It's just communications and culture has shifted. Culture being less trusting and communications being more insular and less, standard facts or standard sources of information. Which, and like their clothing is a little different, but
they have different jackets.
Yeah, people don't like
cool jacket.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's it's a pretty relatable reality.
Yeah.
I liked this book a lot.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't think it was the best book this week. I think it reads fine, but the concept and the characters are awesome. So like, I think it's gonna be overall really great, but as like a first issue, I maybe like a B-, but as something I'm super interested in, like an A-. Like, I want to see how this goes.
Yeah. This is there's been a glut of these in the past year or two of take no shit female just Jessica Jones's. And when Jessica Jones happened, I thought it felt fresh and new and original and fun. And now I can't help but compare everything that comes after it to Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
That's not saying this is bad, but it does feel like a thing I've read before.
I got more not quite Blade Runner vibes than I did Jessica Jones vibes.
Okay.
So that like,
yeah, I could see that.
It was less about her being a cad and more about everything's fucked and I don't care about anybody. Yeah. Like Blade Runner to me. But it is, like at a 10,000 foot level, it is closer to Jessica Jones. You're right.
I think if you put Jessica Jones in Blade Runner,
yeah,
you get this book, right? A little bit.
But she's like a Jessica out of 5. Like she is not as destructive or hateful or spiteful as Jones. So like it's like not quite Blade Runner and also not quite Alias at the same time. It's just,
I mean, it's a little brutal for the daughter of your mentor to come in and ask for help and you to be like, well, this ain't a charity.
Well, I like motivation, sure, but Jessica would tell them to fuck off. Like it's just levels of severity. Like it's not quite the futuristic, but it is the future. It's not quite hardened Lady Dick, but it is hardened Lady Dick. Like this almost feels like a prequel to 15 other things. Like not everyone's there yet.
What do you think, Brian?
I never read Alias, so I didn't get those vibes at all. I didn't get any of those vibes. And the future aspect of it sold it for me. I like so for one thing, there's very few sci-fi detective stories. And I didn't think that while I was reading it, but now that we're talking about it, it is the case. So I like I like this kind of neon future, like grimy neon future kind of thing. So I was into that. There's also something I was reading as I was paging through it on like pages 20 and 21. This is only happens in digital, but I always think it's cool. Usually in title pages, when you've got one page and you move to the next one, and it's just kind of changes. Like some things are the same and some things change. You guys know what I'm talking about? In this particular case, there's a scene of a balcony, and then on the next page, there's two people on the balcony, and it's later at night. And I just think it's a cool effect. Like I said, it usually happens with title pages. I don't think it's on purpose, but sometimes when you go from a title page to the next one, yeah. But when they're happening, when it's one page, just like some things change and other things don't, and it's cool. It's almost like an animation. So, like I say, I don't think that's on purpose. Yeah, it was interesting. The art is good, the color palette is good, and the world that she inhabits is cool.
Oh, the cliffhanger I liked a lot, because this is our first hint of like nefarious future tech throughout the whole issue, and I thought it was really, really cool. Like I didn't.
How so?
I mean, I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be a person in an invisible suit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss a cliffhanger? The cliffhanger is just I need a real moment to grieve.
Do you see the silhouette in the rain behind her?
I totally missed it until you just said those words.
Yeah, because
100%.
we were looking at the video of him getting stabbed, and there was like glitches, and it just seemed like somebody had like it just happened so fast or blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but now we're seeing like and
the Predator.
It's clearly a new enough or not known technology that she didn't think about. Like, oh, those new invisible suits, cool. Like
I literally reading this book. I was reading it. I was enjoying it. We get to this panel where she's like thinking about Denzin, who was her mentor, whose murder she's looking into, and she hasn't really had time to really process it or think about it. And she kind of not sits down, but she crouches and she goes, I needed a real moment to grieve. And I was like, oh, that's the end of the book. What a strange place to end your book. I 100% did not see the silhouette of the person in the background. That is awesome. A little too subtle for Jadles, apparently.
I wonder how much of this will be the themes of like being seen and not being seen, because there's this and there's also her, I forget if it's her friend or brother or something, has this eye, one of those eyes that's on screen now. Yeah, like following him around all the time, which I always thought would be cool, right? To have access to, like, not out there in the world and what could go wrong with it. I mean, just like if you had access to look at any moment of your life at any time.
Yeah. It's like that Black Mirror episode where they've got contacts that record their
I did watch that. I mean, that's not the only place that's shown up. But yeah. I was thinking more from like a third person. Right. But
that would require absolute trust in the technology for them to monitor me at that level, which doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist. But I mean,
can't even look at Instagram without Google telling me to buy something I just looked at on Instagram.
Right. But like, if you guys could have it, you know what I mean? If we were at a stage where like encryption was unbreakable, and
if I was Mr. Terrific and I just invented orbs that followed me around, wonderful.
Go.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that would be pretty sweet. Have you guys read or heard of Gun with Occasional Music, the book?
No.
Very good book. Similar.
Sounds like a futuristic noir detective story.
That's exactly what it is. You're quite right. In that world, PIs are private inquisitors because it is illegal to ask questions without a license. And it's this like kind of world of disparate future-y things, that being one of them, or like local apothecaries being like, you go and you get your mix of drug that you would like with just enough addiction to make it nice to come back to it. And mutated animals. It's cool. It's a cool book. I recommend it. Jonathan Lethem is the author.
Jonathan
Lapham?
who?
Lethem, Lethem. He wrote a comic, only one that I know of. It was a Marvel comic. Oh, who was it? Somebody the Unknown. It was this weird
Omega
the Unknown, right?
Which-
Who? It was all right. It was not as good as Gun with Occasional Music.
Seems like everyone likes it. So
Kevin
reading.
commented,
yeah.
seems legit. Because we got a spam comment. Loveface.xyz, here girls will do what you say. Water emoji, thumbs up, sweaty red-faced emoji,
I don't think
kissy
that's
emoji, wacky face emoji, and letter with a heart stamp emoji. To which Kevin says, seems legit.
I mean,
Get a
wet
good nose.
fingers. Wet fingers make you sweaty.
Yeah.
Kiss my crazy, and put a
Letter.
stamp on it.
You guys,
Yeah.
that's ejaculate.
Oh!
Okay, so
You don't know
tell
that.
me thumb,
Maybe
make me sweaty. Anyway,
I don't know. I've been with some. Never mind.
No, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind that.
I'm just saying, men aren't the only ones who do that. Okay, so as we were talking about in the beginning of the show, Chris and Sassy Goodnight brought up Sean Murphy's self-published graphic novel, The Plot Holes, which he had on, was it Indiegogo or Kickstarter?
it was Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. I was a big Sean Murphy fan. I really liked things like his Batman White Knight and his run on. He did a little short thing on Constantine and Punk
his-
Rock
his-
Jesus.
His run on American Vampire was really, really good, but
Oh.
he wasn't writing. Scott Snyder wrote it, and he did the art. Super, super good.
Nice.
I think it's Survival of the Fittest.
So yeah, in between Batman White Knight projects, he's been doing this thing called The Plot Holes. Here's the description. Realizing he's a fictional character inside a novel that's destined to fail, Cliff joins The Plot Holes, a team of warrior misfits recruited from other failed novels. In order to survive, they must leap from one book to the next, improving each plot so that the stories can be published, thereby saving each world. And I thought, that's neat. That's a neat sounding idea. It was really more my interest in Sean Murphy's work. I really love his illustration style, his ink style is so perfect. It's really nice. And so we kickstarted it, and we got a couple issues in, or a couple of copies in, and Noel and I both read the first issue in the volume. Noel, what did you think?
I thought it was mostly boring. It's an interesting premise that in the first issue is barely established and not really well articulated, and all I have are more questions, but not in a good way, in kind of an annoying way, like, well, then how does this work? But then how does that work? But if you did that, then why is that? But then who is reading these books? So the concept being that this team of fictional characters from destroyed books work to actively edit, I say that in air quotes, actively edit unpublished books to make them good so they survive. So the idea that they're saving these fictional worlds, which is like saving a world, it sounds like a really, really cool idea of, multiversal kind of Avengers, I guess. But it's done so haphazardly that the whole time you have no real understanding of stakes. It's just like, yeah, you're saving like a Goodreads page. What's the big deal? Like that after a successful mission, they like check to see if they were successful, and it's like, oh well, the reviews are off the charts and they've got a Netflix deal. Cool. Like
Yeah.
you
That
just
caused that world to continue to exist? Like, is that what's at stake?
That's what they're trying to say, but they say it in one line, like a little later on, after you've gone through this whole like ordeal of one character dies and this happens and they save this world, and the benefits of them saving the world is that this writer, who I guess wrote the book but was terrible at it because they had to go fix it, is now successful. Their story is now successful and they're going to be a millionaire.
Oh, good.
It's the stakes themselves are stupid. And or so far at least, that it makes me not really care no matter how pretty it is. And then also too, there's a couple of really stupid, like edgy jokes, and you're like, okay, that doesn't really land very well. Like, so there's a Dennis the Menace style character here, like a 1930s cartoon ish kid. That's
but he's from a novel.
Sure.
Right?
Dennis the Menace, the novelization.
But there's a manga person and a sci-fi person. Like, it's fine. Like, it's all published, whatever. And he's like, he looks like an 8-year-old, but acts like a racist 70-year-old.
Oh.
And he just makes a lot of off-color jokes. I get the point of it in the book to kind of have the am I using the word right? The anachronism of having a sweet boy look like a sweet boy, but really is kind of like an out of touch old racist dude.
Because he's from a while ago, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
But
in the 30s or something.
You could do that, but you do it for a reason, and you make it and you do it well. It's neither. Like, it seems like it's just to get away with edgy jokes, and they're not even good edgy jokes. Because it's essentially about like the size of eyes in manga. Like, what's going on?
Also, if that book is from the 30s, isn't it already published?
Oh no! So all of these characters are from books that were destroyed, that aren't published. So they are members of this team because they no longer have worlds. So they are like, think of it as like a team of Expendables or a team of disparate Avengers from other realities that no longer exist, all trying to keep other realities from falling apart.
So there's no hope for like their own stories.
No, their stories are gone.
Trying to help other people.
But that's just it. Like this, the first half of the book saves a story. They successfully edit a story and save it.
Mm-hmm.
But they tell you that they go out of their way to tell you that the benefit of that is just this writer you'll never know in this story is rich now. Great. But then the second half of the first issue kind of backpedals into but we're saving worlds because all of these worlds are real to everyone that reads them. And you're like, it's a little too late for that shit because you established your benefit structure as being just monetary. It's very weird. It just seems like it's not thought through. I think I've shit on it enough. The art is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good looking book. It's Sean Murphy, as always, does not disappoint when it comes to his artwork. A very nice looking book. But I felt the same way. I read it. I forgot to mention to Noel that they had come in, and I was like, let me quick read a little bit of it. I was very excited, so I immediately picked it up and started reading it. And I was just, my face just went from like, oh, okay. I just I wasn't emotionally invested in anything. Now, to be fair, it's a graphic novel. I should read the whole thing. Reviewing one issue of a full thing, one chapter, not that great. Maybe all of the stakes are raised and everything gets better as it goes, and there's story arcs and all sorts of stuff. But as for a first issue, if I were to pick this up off the shelf, I would not continue with it. But the fact that I spent so much to Indiegogo this thing, I got to get my reading worth out of it.
Is it anywhere presented as issues? Or
yes.
Is it,
that's just, so is. I was.
Oh, you mean in the book?
Yeah. So it's structured like it's 6 issues. Like it's not structured like a graphic novel.
That's weird.
I don't think that this was It feels like a pitch to maybe Image or something, and then he just went Kickstarter with it.
Yeah, there are even covers.
And released it. There are covers, there are issues, there are chapters. This is supposed to read like issues collected, not like a graphic novel. So if this was just a single first issue, I would not keep reading.
Yeah.
But I've got it, and yeah, I'll finish it.
And it was
maybe
expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
go ahead.
nothing. I was just gonna. I feel bad, not being enthusiastic about something, but especially something of Sean's because I like him very much. But I just was not
I've
blown
fallen
away.
off of his stuff lately.
Yeah.
Like I liked White Knight. I could not get through Curse of White Knight for some reason. I started it like twice and I just kept falling off, and I haven't finished through. Like I think in this recent previews, there's solicitations. The third or the fourth one was announced. The Beyond the White Knight.
Beyond the White Knight. It's a Batman Beyond story, which is kind of cool.
I'm not gonna pull it. I'll just wait. Like, yeah, no, because even the Harley one, I haven't read a single page of those, and I have them all over here. Like,
well, yeah,
I've
same.
Just fallen off.
But I want to go read Curse of the White Knight. I just haven't got around to it. Oh well. I forgot. I had something else I was going to say, and I just kind of it petered out for me. I lost it.
In the comments, I think it's Hal mentions sounds like a pass. I'll stick with crossover. Crossover is a better version of this, a much better version of this. Just kind of the idea of fiction merging into reality or fiction having its own reality with stakes. Crossover absolutely does this more successfully.
I know what I was going to say. This is my own baggage that I'm bringing into this project. In my head, and there's no reason for me to think this, if someone is kickstarting or Indiegogoing something, especially someone like Sean, who doesn't seem to have a lot of trouble getting stuff made, his stuff seems to get published. He's the name, right? I kind of assume this would be some sort of passion project, a story that he just had to tell. It was just eating at him, and come hell or high water, he was going to get it published, and he just really wanted to tell this story. And so when I picked it up and I kind of saw what the first issue was, I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like anything very particularly special to me.
Well, he might have. I mean, the description of the story sounds like the kind of thing that a writer might have been thinking about for a while, So maybe that is the case. Like, you could still be very right about it, and it just isn't told in a way that is interesting to somebody who isn't a writer and hasn't, but you know what I mean? Like, who hasn't been thinking of the story for a long time.
Did he write Punk Rock Jesus too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just say I consider him an amazing artist and an all right writer. I don't necessarily always enjoy his writing. I think probably the thing that I've enjoyed the most, or the story that was the most nuanced and fleshed out, was White Knight. Everything else has been, and I forgive me, I haven't read Punk Rock Jesus yet. I have it. I just haven't read it yet.
I really liked it.
Yeah. Does it? When was the last time you read it? Has it aged well?
I read it when it came out.
So like 10 years ago.
Oh my God, was it 10 years ago?
It's a long time. It's got Vertigo logos on it.
Gotcha.
Not DC Vertigo, just straight Vertigo logos. So it's at least 10 years old.
All right.
I
couldn't tell you. It's been a while.
This is oddly disappointing. Like my expectations weren't even that high, but I just wish it was a little bit more fleshed out, a little structured differently so far.
Yeah. I mean, I may have something else to say once I'm finished it.
Ditto.
Yeah.
We'll revisit.
I'm gonna hold out hope. Yeah, we'll revisit this for sure. It was very expensive. It would be full of us not to. I'm going to keep harping on it. Was very expensive. The shipping was ridiculous. All right. Brian, you had a question you wanted to throw to us.
Yes, I have thought about this before, but I was recently reminded of it in an article. First appearances in comics. Sometimes people claim that the first appearance of a character, the first time the character appears, is not their first appearance, right? They'll say, no, that's a cameo. Venom, Wolverine is another one. He shows up on the last panel of the previous Hulk, and then he shows up, his full story is in the next one, because a lot of times comics do that. They'll tease what's happening in the next issue And it's not like they knew that Wolverine was going to be a major character. They're just saying, like, here's the thing that's coming at the Hulk next. You know,
the labeling they use for grading is first full appearance, first cameo appearance. That's the differentiation that they use.
Which is better than just the argument of like, no, this one isn't their first appearance.
Yeah, this just kind of happened with Punchline. If you remember all of the weird craziness with Punchline, the like rando villains united, hella risen, blah 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 was her first cameo appearance because she was in like one panel and had a line off panel, and people freaked out for it and bought tons of them. But her first full appearance was in an issue of Batman like a month later.
That makes sense to me. I would still rather it be first appearance and then like first full story or something like that. Because, you know, first cameo appearance is the first appearance. I know it's not the same thing as the first time Barry Allen shows up in Showcase number 4, where that's a full story and it's the first time he's ever introduced. But if you want the first appearance of Wolverine, it's the one before the famous cover. You know,
is that the question? If we prefer or think that's stupid, what's the question?
That's the question. Like, we already answered it, but yeah.
Well, no, honestly, the real answer is I don't think it matters so much as the way that speculation works as to the value of these comic books is so fucking wishy-washy and changes on a dime constantly. Yeah. I don't think it matters because there is no absolute standard that cameos end up selling for more than first appearances, because the market usually will switch over back and forth as to which one like ends up selling for more, because people have these arguments. So it's almost like the arguments themselves fuel the volatile fluctuation of speculation as to which one sells for more.
See, I hadn't thought of it in those terms. Like, I hadn't thought of it in speculative terms.
Well, that's the only reason why
that's the only reason
why they bother identifying one or the other. And the people that think or want definition are usually those that want to know the absolute value and or is it more valuable than the other one, right? And those will. So like I own a 9.8 grade, I don't have it up, of Green Lantern 20, which is the first appearance of Jessica Cruz.
All right.
But she only actually appears in 2 panels and has no lines, I don't think. But they identify it as the first appearance.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm almost positive. You guys talk. I'm going to actually grab it. It's over there. We'll figure out exactly what it says, because she's not featured in the book. She's just there for a hot second. It was Jeff Johns' last issue. Yeah.
Oh, right on.
JD, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think?
Which do I prefer?
Well, which one do you think is correct?
If I'm going, what?
Yeah, which one do you think is correct? Like, what's the actual first appearance? If they just show up in one... Well, the actual
first appearance is the first time you see the character. That's the first appearance.
Okay.
The first time you see the character, you've seen the character, they have appeared. That's it. That's done. If I'm looking for the first appearance of a character, and it's something like Venom, right? So before Venom was even established that was going to be the character, some mystery person was lurking in the shadows, stalking Peter Parker. And at a certain point, he's there waiting for a subway. And as this Todd McFarlane hand comes out of the back and boop, pushes him, right? Tries to push him in front of the train. And that is the first appearance of Venom, technically, because that was Venom doing the pushing. So we're told. But
and it wasn't even the same Venom, right? Like at that time, Venom was going to be a different character, was going to be in the symbiote, and then they changed it. Yeah.
So, but that's neither here nor there. If I'm looking for the first appearance of a character, it's because I'm a reader. I don't care about collecting as much as I do stories I like. I don't buy a thing just because it has someone's hand in it. I'm there because I want to see, this character appeared and went up against our hero. I want the first appearance of Venom where they fight each other.
I respect
where they interact.
But if you were trying to sell them, what would you advocate for? Like, this is the first time the hand showed up. This is going for something, or this is garbage. This is not worth $200. It's the first time his hand showed up. I'm not buying that. Like, what? Even as a reader,
Right. I would not buy the $200 issue of showing me a hand. I want the first.
But you
conflict.
saying you want the first, that I guess technically might be the first conflict. It's just, I feel like
I want the first story.
there you go. I was going to say, I get not caring about the value, but the only reason why they have identified is because there's a value established. As a reader, that first cameo appearance, you don't give a shit about. So, like, that's your answer.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But
I would want it.
It is technically the first appearance.
Yeah.
I would want it, though, for a non-monetary reason. You know what I mean? Like, if Venom was my favorite character, I would want both of those stories. Like, I would want the first time he shows up as a full thing, but I'd also think the first time you see the hand, like, ooh, that's the first Venom. That's the first time you see Venom.
Do you want to know what this says on the labeling?
All right, yeah.
What is it?
All right, so this is Green Lantern number 20 from July 2013. Story by Jeff Johns, art by Doug Monkey. It is Jeff Johns' last issue with a wraparound cover. The indicia says, first appearance of Jessica Cruz in one panel cameo, parentheses, face not revealed.
Huh, I like that.
I like that. That's
You
very
really know what
specific.
you're getting.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
It's like to the T, they identified it as first appearance, but it is not costume. It is not dialogue.
Yeah.
It's just her. And I'm almost positive it's like her in the fetal position in a corner when somebody's like trying to knock on her door because
she's stuck in her apartment. I do remember that. Yeah.
And Kevin is even in the comments saying, I think this all springs from CGC labeling.
Now, point of fact,
so.
though, I'll tell you, there was in old Wizard magazines, there were notations of such and such first appearance.
Also,
or in the Overstreet price guide or whatever.
Yeah, in the Overstreet price guide, they also label first appearances and as to why like values have gone up. I think it's just for me, it's not just CGC labeling that identifies it. It's genuine just speculation across the board and stuff like the price guide, like Overstreet, like Wizard used to do, like CGC does. They do their best to establish rules on like essentially the tide getting higher or lower when it comes to what people try and like track for.
Well, I like how the CGC does it now that they're not limited to one line. Like, it's a lot of information. There's
a couple of interesting ones I have that have like a bunch of shit. Thor number 6 is like Death of Galactus / first appearance of Thanos hammer / first it's they do their best to label the shit out of it, but it's speculation.
Well, they have to because no one can look at the comic book to find out.
Right. That's one thing. It's like getting an action figure and putting it in a box.
Actually, that reminds me, completely off topic, but not. George Perez is doing his last CGC signing. Do you have anything that you would like me to send in because the deadline is like in 2 weeks?
Oh, maybe. I would like something signed by George Perez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remind me after the show.
Okay.
Hal2814 says, I have the issues of Amazing Spider-Man where Cassidy makes a cameo killing someone before he becomes Carnage. I don't even remember that. That's cool. When I bought the book was because I was reading Amazing Spider-Man at the time. No idea Carnage or Venom would blow up like years later. Very cool.
I have some cool first appearances that I have searched out just to have them. I have a thing where I like to get awesome things in pretty shitty condition because I will never pay the $300 or whatever. So like the first Red Kryptonite appearance, that kind of thing.
Here's an interesting one that I have. It's the I got the DC Nation Presents Future State free issue slabbed because technically it's the first appearance of Yara Flor.
Wow, fun. Good job.
Very cool. Yeah.
Dumb shit like that.
Sneaky.
Is that also the first? No, it isn't. Of the non-binary Flash.
The first cover appearance of. Wait, where is she? They. Yeah.
They.
Wait, actually, no, they aren't on here.
Oh,
Actually, I think that they might have first appeared in the Justice League.
Yeah,
Future State Justice League.
it's that Flash,
Right.
which is not Jesse. Jesse, correct?
That sounds right, but I don't recall.
Or Jess or something like that. It's a non-binary name.
And when they were saying the powers that be at DC were saying that they would appear in the Justice League at some point, and that
hasn't
not seen
happened
that.
yet.
I don't think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, fun stuff.
a lot of the Future State stuff is gone.
Yeah, but by the time they were talking about that, it was like they already knew what was coming, and they're
It's
like, "Hey, we've just introduced a non-binary Flash. This is not the only time you'll see them."
Oh,
it's a stop. It was a stopgap event. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
the stuff that they had already.
yeah.
You know,
It's it's life. It's the
Yeah.
comics.
all right. Forget it, Jake. It's comics. All right. So Thunder Rounds are
Thunder
next.
Round.
And
Wait,
Thunder
JD,
Round
isn't there some way of
all right.
paying for this show that even though you don't have to, you might want to?
You know what I like, Brian? You know what I
What
like
is that?
is that I've started the Thunder Round segment of the show. And
Yeah.
instead of waiting till after the Thunder Round segment of the show is over to do this,
Yeah.
you're like, no,
Yeah.
let's cease the Thunder Round statement
Thunder Round.
segment that you've made started, and let's do the. I mean, hey, if anyone likes this, no, you don't. You don't like it. You can help us out by going to patreon.com/Johnny Destructo and helping us out monetarily. If you don't have any money, that's fine. I don't have much money, so that we're even. You can just hang out with us and join us and like and comment and subscribe.
How about if you like any of these comics that we talk about, buy them from JD. He ships out.
Oh my
Dude.
God,
Yeah,
that's
you
really.
could do that.
If you want to help out the shop, you can order the comic books through me. We do subscriptions, and I will mail you the books. That's a good point, Noel. Thank you for that. Do that every week because I'll forget.
Okay.
Brian, can I continue?
What's a Thunder Round?
I'll tell you, Noel. A Thunder Round is a 60-second review of anything. It could be anything. Usually it's comic books. Noel has 2 Thunder Rounds.
Thunder Rounds.
Thank you. The first up
Yeah,
is
I do.
Inferno #4 from Marvel Comics, written by Jonathan Hickman, with art by Stefano Caselli and Valerio Schiti. No, who's got a timer? Because I don't. Oh, I do. I can time it.
Wait,
Oh,
do I get
Not
to?
have a phone anymore?
Are you going to read the amazing solicitation?
Oh, I can. Yes, I'll do that right now. To Embers. Jonathan Hickman's time on X-Men ends with a dramatic conclusion of one of the first and best mysteries he brought to the line. Valerio Schiti returns on art to help bring down one of the foundations of the era. All right, Noel. My watch turns. Here we go. 60 seconds on the clock and go.
This book was fucking awesome. This 4-issue miniseries is the culmination of House of X, Powers of 10. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's all the Moira. It's all the nasty Quiet Council stuff. It's awesome. It has to do with the. It hasn't been since Hoxpox since they talked about the machines versus humans versus mutants stuff, and all of that is revealed. It's awesome. All of the cool stuff with Douglas and Warlock and Speaking for the Island has its own like little mystery reveal that I didn't even know about. It's awesome. This is just so fucking good. This is so fucking good. You literally could just read House of X, Powers of 10, Hickman's little 20-issue run,
End of round.
and then this, and it is a masterclass of superhero books, and it ends in a way that you could keep going. No. It ends in a way where you could keep going, or you could just kind of pick up and go.
End of round.
And it still is
End of
incredibly
round.
satisfying. This book is fantastic. Read Inferno.
End of round.
Okay, I'm good. You guys should read it. It's fun.
I do want to check that out
I
because
do.
I really liked House of X Powers of 10 and really wanted to see the rest of that.
There is a solid turn / climax part in this that I was like, oh shit.
Oh.
Didn't see it coming. Super great. I loved this book. I loved this book. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I haven't read most of Hickman's X-Men main series.
Again, it kind of doesn't matter. Like this
Good.
is
Okay.
Moira McTaggart was the main thrust of House of X Powers of 10.
Yeah.
Her reincarnation. She's a goddamn secret for the entirety of Hickman's run, just kind of like in the shadows in the background. They don't talk about her. No one knows she's alive. The beginning of Inferno is some people find out. Cool. And then shit goes bad from there. It's a conclusion to the Moira stuff. So if you have at least just the baseline of House of X, you're fine. Yeah. You're fine.
Yeah, I'd like to read
it's
that.
4 issues?
Yeah, it's 4 oversized issues, so it reads like a 6-issue mini. Yeah.
I'm going to read it. I'm excited.
Do you have
Thank
them?
you.
Do you have them still?
Fucking good.
If not, give me the trade.
I'll give
okay.
I have them. Or
no, I'm going to get him the trade.
We'll get him the shop. Get him the trade. Get him the trade. It's really
now
good.
There's another Thunder round that Noel's going to do.
Thunder round.
I'll keep this under. I'm sorry.
Dark Knights of Steel #3, DC Comics, Tom Taylor, Yasmin Putri. War is on the horizon as a series of assassinations has rocked the lands. The Kingdom of Storms is gathering its allies with eyes on the destruction of Kal-El and his family. What secret does the Dark Knight learn that could be the key to everything? 60 seconds on your clock. Go.
If you enjoy, first of all, Tom Taylor is the king of Elseworld stories in modern comics. If you enjoyed the weird and wildness of Deceased, you'll love this. If you enjoyed Injustice, you'll love this. He's just infused Game of Thrones with DC IP, and nothing is sacred. So some characters that you thought would not die died immediately, and some characters that you thought wouldn't kill immediately. It's just a really, really intriguing story, and the way that he reuses certain characters, I find surprising. Like the Metal Men show up, a version of the Metal Men show up, and you're like, oh yeah. So like it's already like digging deep into the reserves of DC continuity in fun, fresh ways that I find really enjoyable. And the artist.
End of round.
This book is great.
Nice. Thanks, Noel. Good job. All right. That's the end of the Thunder rounds. Let's move on to Thor #2. No.
20.
Thor #20 from Marvel Comics, written by Donny Cates with art by Nick Klein. Mjolnir is on a rampage across the realms and is leaving death and destruction in its path. Thor must act fast to save his kingdom, for the deadly prophecy of the God of Hammers is about to be unleashed. This was dope as fuck. I have not read Thor for a couple of issues now. It's been a while. I keep jumping in and out, not because I don't want to keep up. It's because I ain't got no goddamn time. But luckily, Noel was like, read this. And then I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I read 19 and then this issue 20. And it's still great. This Donny Cates run is still super fun. Really enjoying it. The Nick Klein art is getting looser as the series progresses, but it doesn't bother me. It's still good looking. And I like the reveal at the end of this. It feels a little bit like a twist from Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Danger.
So Danger. So we're going to spoil the end of this, and basically Mjolnir. So Thor and Loki and Odin are trying to track all of the murders that's been happening all over the 9 realms. They're clearly happening by someone wielding Mjolnir. And turns out no one's wielding Mjolnir. Mjolnir is the god of hammers, which is pretty fun. I really like that. I don't know about the design of the character. It basically is just like
it's a lightning lady.
I guess it's supposed to be lightning. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's lightning lady.
Yeah.
I think lady.
I think so. I think Mjolnir being a sentient storm goes back a little ways into
yeah.
Jason Aaron's run.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But what
but
did
it
you
was-
guys think, Noel?
Oh, I mean, I've been loving the shit out of this book as it's been going. I think Donny Cates gets a bad rap a little bit of just being like Rockstar Kid comes up and comes in and shakes shit up. But if you've been reading along, he has a knowledge and a reverence to the history of the characters. So he does weird shit with them, but it's never, or at least so far, has never been out of bounds. Like the idea of Mjolnir, Brian already had mentioned, the idea of it being a sentient storm that exists within the hammer prior to it being destroyed in the sun at the end of Jason Aaron's run existed. So he just kind of like builds on that. The idea of a whisper network of a bunch of other hammer wielders like Throg, or the idea of Donald Blake being a non-entity stuck in a looped hell and going crazy. Like he takes all of these very well established pieces of continuity and then just kind of tweaks them to like 15-20%. And I've been loving it. I've just really been loving it.
Super fun run. It might, and I think it rivals Jason Aaron's run for me.
The first chunk.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
What I've read, I like Jason Aaron's run. I hold Jason Aaron's run in high regard, but I will admit there are peaks and valleys to it. I have yet to read a valley in Donny Cates's run. It's like at 11 all the time.
I agree with that. Like this is, I don't think that this is better so far. I don't think that this is better than God of Thunder, that first like 25 issue chunk, but this is on par with a lot of that middle piece before he loses the hammer. Like this is really good, and it's different. Like it's the same character, but it's different, which is like the best you can ask for in regards to rotating creative teams on ongoing stories, right? Like you don't want to completely transform the book, but you also don't want to constantly keep telling the same stories. It's, the Spider-Man problem, the Captain America problem. Like how many times can you have them put down the shield? How many times can you have them fight a clone? Like it's, taking something that is recognizable or that's comfortable and twisting it to the enjoyment of the reader is awesome. It's like something that the movie Scream is a perfect example of it, right? All of your knowledge of horror movies, using them against you in the context of a horror movie. And it's like Donny Cates is doing that with these fucking Marvel characters to a successful degree. For me.
What about you, Brian?
This was all right. I really enjoyed his opening arc, the where Thor becomes the Herald of Galactus. I thought
the
it was
cosmic
really
art.
Yeah, that was cool. I did not read the Donald Blake stuff, although it looked interesting. And the Throg issue that we read was really good too. I think I am not that into the way that Donny Cates remixes Marvel stuff always, right? I'm not like, oh, you can't do that. I'm just like, that was kind of dumb. Like the Mjolnir thing kind of underwhelmed me at the end.
Oh, really?
Like, well, first of all, and this maybe is a little off base, the God of Hammers thing, I was like, oh, like that line from Ragnarok. Yeah. Right. I remember that line too. And I don't think it's a basis for a story, but it doesn't have to be the basis. It's just the name of the story. It's fine. But yeah, I don't know. When they said, oh, it's Mjolnir, I was like, oh, it's Mjolnir itself. What a wacky idea that I never would, oh, you really turned it on its ear, Donnie.
So it's dumb.
Kinda. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not picking up your sarcasm. Like it's not like you don't think it's a good idea,
that was sarcasm.
or just the presentation is not a good idea.
No, I thought it was as like a gotcha twist. It didn't get me. You know, I didn't think it was that interesting. But also, I don't like Jason Aaron stuff. So, you know, the fact that he's calling back to a Jason Aaron thing is like, that wasn't a great idea then either. Although I didn't read it, and the idea of a sentient storm being in Mjolnir is not an inherently uncool idea. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I just thought this, and I just looked it up. And I was like, oh, right, he did that Hulk thing too. That I didn't think was that interesting.
The recent Hulk,
yeah, there's something about the things that he chooses to remix or the way that he chooses to turn something on its head that I'm not always into. Now, that being said, I just listed a bunch of this run that I thought was great. Like, I still thought most of this comic was very cool. Like, I enjoyed reading it.
I think a downside to, I am not a fan of Kids Love Chains 90s comics bullshit. Right?
Yeah.
But Donny Cates, as a writer and as a reader, loves that shit.
Yeah.
So when he makes earnest reference to it, it's not because I love it. It's because he's reusing those tropes with modern storytelling. And for me, it's just the modern storytelling that makes the nostalgia okay. But if this was a rehash of like a Spawn issue, I would also think it's garbage. So I think it's not the things he chooses to do in the stories that I'm attracted to. It's his style of writing, his dialogue.
It is good.
That I really love.
Like, I mean, he's a good writer. Like, for
yeah,
sure.
That's just it. I think it's, for me, it's like I would never go on to the mat and fight with you about the things he chooses to do with Venom, because I don't give a fuck about Venom as a character. He's a product of the 90s that I never liked. But for some reason, the dialogue and the story choices and the wanton kind of destruction that Donny Cates approaches the character with, I find really appealing. And that's what I like. I just like his writing, right? So it's never about what he chooses. I have no real affection for Thor either. I just like him in things, but it's I don't follow his book no matter what, right?
You know what? What I like about him is that the status quo, the status is not quo.
Ever. Right?
I forget what movie that's from, but that's a line from a movie.
I think it's the quo is not status would be more correct, right?
Yeah, but I'm quoting a movie.
Oh, is that a reference to some other thing? Oh, I got
you. Yeah. That's how I feel about Donny Cates, is that he comes in on a book and he shakes things up. For me, as someone who is 43 years old, been reading comics for 30 odd years, I like when someone comes in and does something new and fun and different with the characters. And the fact that Venom is a good choice to talk about, because that is not Venom. That's not the Venom I grew up with. And he has evolved, he has matured, he has become a completely different character that can go and have a chat with the Avengers. And even at the time, I was like, this feels so weird. But at the same time, what do I just want him to keep trying to eat Spider-Man's brains for 40 years? Like, come on. That's just stagnant and stale and boring. So I like that he does stuff like this. To me, that was kind of fun. A sentient Mjolnir trying to, coming for Thor. I thought, I was like, oh, that's a cool, fun idea. It feels kind of metal. I think a lot of Donny Cates' stuff feels like, and I can't really describe how it feels this way, but it just feels kind of metal as fuck.
Yeah, so no, I think I agree with you.
Cool.
And that's what I'm like, I don't really like. I don't really like metal as fuck.
You just want jazz.
Yeah, jazz or some
dig on this
rock and roll or what have you. But it's funny that you should compare it to the 90s stuff, Noel, because in the 90s, I was like,
oh, no, it wasn't.
I didn't do that. That wasn't me.
I know. No, I know. He's been kind of his connection's been in and out like during the whole show. What's funny is he said rock and roll or what have you, which is the oldest man phrase I think I've ever heard in my
rock and roll or what have you.
Rock and roll or what have you. Fucking love you, Brian.
Yeah.
It's funny, you mentioned that Nick Klein's kind of style for this book has gotten looser. Yeah. Or has it gotten slightly closer to another metal as fuck artist that we love?
Daniel Warren Johnson?
That collaborates with Donny Cates often. Maybe it's kind of a moving more towards that kind of grittier metal kind of feeling for this
Maybe,
story
yeah.
arc.
I could see a
conscious
little
choice.
Daniel Warren Johnson.
Yeah, like a conscious choice
influence
to
in
kind
that,
of like
yeah.
stylistically kind of like make it a little looser. Like it's intricate in a lot of places, but then it's also really loose in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Also, when Thor finally appears to be calling down Mjolnir, it's got that that like lines perpendicular.
Yeah, the doom.
Yeah, which has been everywhere recently, but I still so strongly associate it with Daniel Warren Johnson. I don't know if that's valid or not.
No, he does it all the time.
No, I know that he does it, but I don't know if he is like the originator of it. But that's the first place I ran across it, I think.
The first place I ever ran across was, and I can't remember his name. He did Rumble.
Did we read that for the show?
No.
Well, JD finds that. No, what I was saying before I dropped down accidentally, is that it's funny you referenced the 90s with this stuff, because during the 90s I was like, oh man, I liked previous eras better. Like I'm not into this.
Oh yeah, I didn't
stuff,
I didn't enjoy James Herron.
I mean, some of it I did, of course, but
I wasn't. I did not enjoy comics around that time either. I genuinely loved the art. Like I remember getting those first couple of issues of Spawn, barely being able to finish them because I really thought the writing was trash, but loving the art because I was what, 12? So I didn't have the patience to kind of like read the massive amounts of text in my comic. But the art stayed with me. Yeah, very much so. And then I went and read other stuff that I found more appealing from the big two, who then started copying stuff that was popular at Image. Yeah,
Heroes Reborn for one.
Yeah, I that was actually the period of time when I just cut out. I cut out for like all of high school.
Oh yeah,
I never left.
No, me either.
Well, I mean, the Spring Hill, Florida, still doesn't have any comic book shop, and it's not like I had the internet. So
that's how I used to judge a mall, right? It's like, is this really a real mall if it doesn't have a comic book store?
Right.
Yeah.
The closest mall was 40 minutes away. I lived in a small town. I could not get comic books. There was no options. So I didn't read comics for a very, very long time.
Yeah, no, I remember having to get to the King of Prussia Mall to get, because that was my shop. That was the closest one for me. And, it was always like, I don't know how I did it. Probably just asked my parents to take me, but it must have been like while we were doing something else or like on the way home. You had to arrange
uphill both ways.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing.
Kevin is in the comments saying James Herron, to which I replied, yes. That dude is dope. Yeah, James Herron's art is next level cool as fuck.
Ultra Mega.
Ultra Mega, yeah. Wow, what a good looking book. He is so good. And that's the first guy I ever saw doing that sort of style that we were talking about. And then Daniel
Warren Johnson.
Daniel Warren Johnson came along, and I was like, oh, kind of reminds me of James Herron.
Daniel James Shitfuck. He's
that's
also
the guy.
known as, yeah.
Let's move on to the last book of the week, Monkey Meat. Image Comics, written and drawn by Juni Ba. The Monkey Meat Company made its fortune selling cans of processed meat all around the world. Using that money to fuel their wacky experiments, they turned their native island into a magical hyper-capitalist hellscape where even demons have to pay rent. Follow the lives of the creatures of Monkey Meat Island in this fun, action-packed romp. Each issue is its own story. I didn't read it. What'd you think, Noel?
I thought this was awesome. It is it's very much like what's the word? Not Lampoon. The British one, Flying Circus, Monty Python. There's a Monty Python-esque feeling to it.
I think you described it as a fever dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like a book that they kept yes-anding. Processed meat, so popular. Bought an island. What do they do on the island? Experiments for different kinds of meat. Radioactive. salesmen that are so good that they could sell to God but like just and then they
God
wrap,
shows up.
and then God shows up. Like
Right.
this book continuously yes ands itself and then wraps up in a bow at the very end and seeds the next story, which is only tangentially related to this person who drank an energy drink that is powered by souls. This book is weird and it's pretty. I thought it was pretty fucking fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah. It was weird. It was very weird. And the art is that kind of like off-putting abstraction that is well suited to this story, you know? The art is very well done. This kind of artistic style. It's never my favorite, but I like it. You know what I mean? Like it's cool. It has a certain energy of its own that kind of keeps it out of the realm of being something that I'm really going to like think, oh, I want to display this cover or something like that. But it's very scattershot and very hard edged. There's a little essence of Mike Mignola, I think, a little bit.
Oh yeah,
in it. Yeah.
Mike Mignola in the Shadow Works. It's also feels a little bit like Jim Mafood by way of Scott Morse. These sort of OE press indie darlings from 15 years ago.
The start of the story. So there's the next story is going to be that manga-ish character who drank an energy drink that's seated in this issue, and then we'll see their story. Like it seems to be set up to like Mr. Show sketches where the sketch would end and it almost non sequitur wise style seeds the next sketch, whether it's just by a word or a line or a product placement.
Which I think happened in Flying Circus too, right?
Yes. Yes, this is very much. This whole book just feels like it's yes-anded to like the biggest conclusion, and then it's like, well, fuck it, next. Like, I thought it was great, and also too, like, I will agree with you that the art is not for everybody, but I thought it was great, but the first couple of pages, it's impenetrable, because the main characters don't look human, and you don't know why they don't look human until more than halfway through the book.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who's talking? Because I can't see where this fucker's mouth is, let alone if he's the one talking. So it's mildly impenetrable, but when they explained it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
And it's got that kind of
Aw. I don't know what's going on with Brian's connection this week, but it's breaking my heart.
Don't go break up.
Why'd you bother with lights? It was nice when you were just in the shadows.
Oh, here he is.
The character design is really interesting. It's an interesting, like, sort of future or alien or whatever kind of world. The main character has a little bit of, I could see that it kind of in Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
But this is a little harder edged and rougher than Samurai Jack is, but I love Samurai Jack art, of course. That speaks to me with the character design. That, like, not necessarily an alien, but something that's unhuman, but is normal in this world kind of thing. And this is the kind of world that has 15 different types of sentient beings in it that all just interact. I also like that the next issue is listed at 399 monkeys is the cost of the next issue.
This might not be for everybody, but I think it's too impressive to ignore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah, like it's not for everybody, but it's so good at what it is, which is also ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it's really good at being ridiculous.
It's like very over the top, like parody of something or 10 different things kind of thing. with a classic ending, like that classic, like there's no way out kind of ending.
Yeah,
you know.
This is absolutely Monty Python, Terry Gilliam. There's no happy ending, but you're still smiling, kind of corporate bullshit. And I thought it was really smart. I love, like, it is a throwaway line at the like towards the beginning of the story that he's a salesman that's so good he could sell anything to even God.
Yeah.
Or he could get even God to get to sign a contract, and then that becomes the punchline of the entire fucking story.
Right.
That
like
God,
you think that he's out, and then
God owes him, and he has. It's really strong. I thought it was really strong. I was very impressed.
Yeah, that ending very much is that kind of like Monty Python style, like the biggest thing that could happen. You know, that the ultimate twist on this premise, because we need a way to finish up the premise, and the biggest thing you could think of is that way. It's cool.
Yeah, like
postmodern sort of story.
Sketches would end with talking to the screen or the voice of God saying, "Stop it." Like, it would be absolutely ridiculous. I got this. I actually picked this up physical because I saw the description in previews and was like, "This looks weird." Sure, and I'm very, very glad that I did.
I'm curious
all
to
of these
see what
ads,
the next one is.
Yeah, I am too. And all of these ads really there's a lot of fake ads in the book. They work really, really well in the physical copy. This is strong.
Nice.
It's good
stuff.
stuff.
I wonder if, because the next one takes place in this town, I'm curious as to see how much it is connected or how little it is connected to the next one. Now, I have a question for you, unrelated to this. You were talking about Ultra Mega a little bit ago. Now, I just happened to read an article about it wonders if Voltaire was the first sci-fi author, which is actually something we talked about a little while ago on this podcast, on an episode that you weren't on. But the way that they say it is he wrote a short story called Micro Megas. And there's like an alien from Saturn and an alien from another star, and they're gigantic, and they come to Earth, and they have trouble finding life forms because everything is so small that they don't recognize it as life. Is Ultra Megas in any way? Could you see it as like a play on that, or is it just a coincidence? Yeah.
Nope. Right. It is a straight coincidence. It's more of a play on giant kaiju monster movies.
All right. Yeah, because I think these things are big, but I don't know that they're monsters. You know what I mean? I don't know that I haven't read the story, but
that's coincidence.
Interesting. All right.
Absolutely.
Very good.
JD.
Hi.
Hey, welcome back, buddy. You should read this. It's really fun.
Nah.
All right.
Oh,
I'm not gonna do that. There's too many things that I want to catch up on. I'm not gonna read Monkey Meat. This doesn't look like it's up my alley.
Right.
There are books that I would like to catch up on. Beta Ray Bill, the Daniel Warren Johnson series.
Me too. I loved that, and I've got like 3 issues left.
You could.
I got a bunch of Star Wars reads.
Such a breezy read. You could read that in 15 minutes. Get it?
No.
Brian,
I'm gonna finish Ultra Mega.
I haven't finished that one.
Right? So many things I want to finish.
Yeah, I started reading All New Wolverine this past week, and it's beautiful.
I'm going to do a Thunder Round.
Thunder Round.
Since we're done talking about the books, I figured Brian likes it when we chat. But I'm going to do a Thunder Round. Who's ready to time me? I'm going to do Scream 4, the movie.
Oh, that's incredibly relevant. How old is it?
Scream 5. Or 5 Cream, as it's lovingly called, will be out this Friday. And we're trying to see if we can get tickets to go see it on Friday, very early at a very empty theater. Oh, Kevin says, "Oh my God, Ultra Mega, best book of 2021, in my opinion." Can't wait to finish it. I read the first issue and it was dope as hell, Kevin. All right, Scream 4, here we go. Let me know when you're ready.
And go.
I am a huge fan of the Scream films. I love Scream 1, Scream 2. And Scream 4. Scream 4, I was very happy with. I hadn't watched it since it came out in the theaters, I think. And I remember being like, oh, this is so much better than Scream 3 because Scream 3 is one of my most hated movies of all time because of the potential that is wasted. And this, Scream 4, super fun. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. I think that the soundtrack is good. The dialogue is fun. The characters are interesting. The kills are the bloodiest of the entire series. Especially coming off of Scream 3, which is all just, there's no blood whatsoever. This movie is brutal as hell, really good kills. And it's just fun spending time with those characters. I really, really like that movie. And the reveal of the killer or killers, I think, was a surprise. I had no idea. Very surprising and highly recommend it. So you should definitely check it out.
End of round.
Ah, nailed it. Almost.
Also, someone gets shot in the dick.
Ooh.
Spoilers.
Oh my God, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a
Someone
gun?
gets a bullet in their pee-pee.
Oh my
With a
goodness.
gun? Yes, with a
Yep.
gun.
With another pee-pee.
A pee-pee shot to the pee-pee.
Yeah, pee-pee shots to the pee-pee. They
That's
and-
called
and
docking.
you're thinking something. You know,
I
you're
heard
thinking
space dock.
docking. I actually mean someone projectile
Yeah,
through a pee-pee
that's how I took it.
at a
Yeah.
pee-pee.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pee-pee contact, but it was brutal contact.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasurable for either.
Not
pee-pee.
pleasurable or
No.
arousing contact. It was volatile. Also, non-consensual.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
So
it would, yeah. Doesn't seem like it would be.
speaking of Scream, which Scream 5 is coming out, Noel and I both listen to the Halloweenies podcast, and I am one of their patrons. So they just posted the poster, you know,
Is this
the
on
killer,
social media. Yeah,
the killer's on this poster. No, on Patreon.
Oh.
So basically, everyone's a suspect. There's
no.
another killer in Woodsboro, and everyone's a suspect. Help the Halloweenies name the face behind the ghost before it's too late. Winners will be named Woodsboro's finest on our Scream review episode. So I think it's going to be Hicks.
Is that somebody from a previous
Yes.
victim in
Wait,
a
who do you
previous
think it is?
Scream movie?
Hicks.
Who's Hicks?
Hicks is Dewey's. She's is she a deputy?
Oh,
the
Marley
new deputy?
Shelton.
Marley Shelton.
No.
You think
Okay.
Hicks has like been driven crazy by having had killers come after them all these
No.
years?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what the plot is gonna be, but I don't care about any of these kids, so I'm not gonna guess. I don't know. I literally don't know any of the other actors in this movie who play these kids, these high schoolers. All I know are the three main characters, Sydney, Dewey, and Gail. And I don't want it to be any of those three. Had it been one of those three in the previous movies, fine. But so far, they've been surviving every movie so much that I'm just like, well, don't make
Until
one of
this
them.
one. Until this one, I'm yes-anding you. I'm not.
They can
You
kill
won't
them
stop.
off, but don't
Yeah.
make them the killer.
I have a way of watching these movies, especially the Scream movies. It was after the first one. When I went and saw the second one, I remember it was I read a bunch of Facebook forum, like it was actual like movie forums, like before Reddit, like people theorizing the murders and the killers and this, and then it's gonna go down like this, and we got a fake leaked script, and I was deep in those weeds, and it was all wrong. But then I also realized that it made watching the movie. I wasn't really watching the movie. I was sitting there trying to figure it out. So I went into 3 and 4 actively not trying to figure it out. And I think and that was so fun to do. So I think I've already am avoiding. I haven't seen any trailers since that one teaser towards the like last year. I'm not watching any trailers. I'm not reading any reviews or reactions, and I'm trying to see it immediately because I don't want to. It's not even about being spoiled. I don't want to give myself enough time to think about it. I just want to experience it.
I always watch the Screams that way. I never sit there going, "Who's the killer?" Like I do, kind of like, "Oh, I wonder who the killer is," but I'm not there sitting trying to figure it out because there is no way to figure it out. There are not enough clues to tell you here is the killer. Basically, the whole movie is we're going to present everyone in a either a nice as both a nice light and also a negative light, a negative and a positive light, so that you're unsure of who the killer is. At no point are you supposed to actually put together who the killer is.
It's a series of red herrings. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of the times the production doesn't know who the killer is going to be until they're done making the movie. There have been multiple scripts. They've shoot multiple scenes. They don't know what they're doing until they figure it out. So I don't think there's ever, except for the first one and maybe the second one. No, because even the second one had like 4 killers at one point.
Well, they switched it up midway through. But yeah, I obviously I wonder, but I peel back and just try and sit there and enjoy it because I've seen these movies too many times, either at home or in the theater, with people who are just actively guessing wrong outside of their head. And I hate it. It's like, just watch the movie. Like, you don't win a prize if you're right and you're just throwing names out. Just watch the fucking movie. It's only, you're going to find out in an hour. An hour. So, like, I really do especially whodunits, I actively try and stay in popcorn mind and not, and then afterwards, like the second viewing, we'll rip the shit out of it. But and more so than Marvel movies, more so than like secret cameos, but specifically for like whodunits and like the Scream movies, I actively have to like go as dumb as possible in my head. Because that's the way to truly enjoy them for me. And then also, all those awesome kills. Yeah.
I'm assuming in these Scream movies, they are not constructed in such a way that are like a series of clues, like a Sherlock Holmes that you might figure out.
No,
it's just
a series of murders.
Right. And then eventually they'll tell you who it was.
It's a series of
eventually they take the mask off.
Right.
Yeah, it's a series of accusations and stressful fearing. And then the movie reveals it for you. You're not following one, like the perspective is always, what is it? Second person omniscient. You know more than the characters, but you never know the full, you never know the voice of God or everything in the story, but you also don't know more than the main characters know at the time. Like the movie doesn't reveal shit to you before it reveals it to the characters. So it's just constant. It's not first person, it's second person because you're not inside someone's head, but you're experiencing it with them, next to them. So it's second person omniscient the whole time. So there's also, no way to guess in advance. Like,
this also exists. These movies exist in a world where like technology exists that no matter your cadence of speech, the pitch of your voice, the way you talk, your stutter, anything. It all goes away once you have this voice changer. You talk exactly like the same person has been talking all 5 movies. It's always the same actor playing the same voice on the phone. And then it's always revealed that the person has a voice box changer, and that's how they make the voice. Yeah.
I mean, in part
super
3,
silly.
The technology.
We don't talk about 3.
You're able to change your voice to anyone's voice.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's the worst part is in Scream 3, it's not just the Ghostface killer voice. I could get a phone call and Brian could use this voice changer to sound exactly like Noel, to talk exactly like Noel in the exact same way that he speaks. So dumb.
But I will say it's cool. Like in the Halloweenies episode about Scream 3, they made mention that there's a scene where the killer calls not Sydney, someone else, but either way, uses the Roman voice and then the killer voice, but knowing that Roman's the killer, he's actually talking, and then he gets the voice box. Which I thought was really funny. I'm like, yeah, that's creepier. Cool.
That's cool.
And then he just leaves the costume and the voice changer on the phone in a pile with the ringer on in the closet for that to be found. So dumb. That movie
wanted to be caught at that point. It was the
Hate
end
that
game.
movie.
He wanted to be caught in that house.
Hated it.
It was fine. I've never watched it again.
Guys, I know we don't normally talk about the these kinds of messages in the chat, but I have a question. Loveface XYZ online strips without clothing.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
How do you strip without clothing?
Right.
Because they peel their own flesh off.
I don't know. I don't know if that's something I want to see.
But it's a good thing we blocked them.
Yes.
I was afraid for your delicate sensibilities. Poor Vanilla Brian doesn't want to see someone strip their own flesh off.
I mean, it's real. Like, it's old hat to just see boobies.
Yeah,
I want
to see everything.
You want to see muscle,
yeah,
and sinewy veins and just.
I actually have
bone
recently
things that I can see the bones of.
Yeah, yeah. You want to see those bones? There is that music video that Robbie Williams, which is also a pretty fun song, where he does that, and it's pretty funny, which I had not seen before. Like
that video is fantastic. It's called Rock DJ by Robbie Williams. Everyone should look it up after this.
Yeah.
He literally is a stripper at a roller disco and just gets to the point where there's nothing else for him to take off and starts ripping off his flesh.
Yeah.
It's grotesque and it's fantastic.
And it's a pretty peppy song too.
It's a good song too, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. I'm going to go place my orders.
No, right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and chatting with us and down in the group chat. Join us next Monday at 9 o'clock. We will talk about more comic books. I'm going to make us talk about Detective Comics.
All right.
And some other ones. I don't know what the other ones are yet.
Other ones too?
Kevin said, LOL, love that video. I guess he's talking about the
Rock DJ.
Nice.
Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
All right. And yeah, if you want comics, contact me at Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, 4327 Main Street. And we will talk at you later.